Good evening, folks. Welcome to Isshinryu Today. I hope my mic is working. If a mic is working and you can hear me, please comment in the comment section. I can't tell if it's working or not. It seems to be working. But anyway, welcome to Isshinryu Today. I'm the host of the program, Sensei Kyle Forrest, and I missed you guys for it's ain't been but 2 weeks, but it seems like it's been forever. But I want to welcome you back to the program. We got a lot going on, and I wanted to come on tonight just to share and pick up where we left off. I found what I was looking for. I know our last program we were looking for where Tatsuo went to the Harlem Globetrotters, and I found it in the Orange Book, and I'm going to be reading some of that tonight. But before we get started, I just want to welcome you to Isshinryu Today, and let's get started with our shout outs, and then we'll do some announcements, and then I'm going to give you some information on how you can go to some of these events, so that you can get to some of these events and you can participate and things like that. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to touch base with you tonight and have a good show and a good program. It's kind of laid back. We will be resuming our Isshinryu self-defense next week on next week's show, as we gear up for the Circle of Masters coming up on the 14th of September of 2024 in Anderson, South Carolina. And I'm going to give you some information. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But as we do, as we move into the program, I want to give a few shout outs as we start off the program. So the first shout out, of course, goes to our founder, Grandmaster Tatsuo Shimabuku. We want to thank you for your time and your service. And it is a true honor that we get to train in your system. We want to thank you for creating a system and sharing your dream to our United States servicemen. And as they trained, we want to give a shout out to our first generation students, the ones that pioneered Isshinryu back to the United States from learning for young children. They started at young children at 18 years of age, or even maybe some older, in the Marine Corps. And they found Tatsuo Shimabuku, and he was like a father figure to them. He looked after them when they were over there. And then they pioneered Isshinryu back to the United States. We want to give a shout out to our first generation students of the Isshinryu karate system. And then we want to give a shout out to our second generation students. Those are the students that trained with the new Marines. They came back to the United States. They started karate, wasn't even started here in the United States until they got here and started promoting their school. So running a school, promoting, getting students, teaching students, and teaching them how to teach other students, that had to be a big challenge. So hats off to you guys, because I'm not sure that I could have done that. So the second generation students are the ones that pioneered it out and branched it out all throughout the United States and even further into other countries. So we got to remember, we got a saying on the show, we must remember where we come from in order to know where we're going. And I like hearing other people's past, just like tonight we've got a listener on here, Nicholas Woodall. Thank you for tuning in, brother. I hope you like the show, and I hope you enjoy it. He is his instructor was a 5th degree black belt, and he passed away in 2004. I'm sorry to hear that. And Nicholas has 2 years training under his instructor. So let's give a shout out to Nicholas's instructor tonight as well. And let me scroll back up here in the comments, and I will. John Paul Schaus, and I hope I said that right. So that was his instructor. He was a 5th degree black belt in Isshinryu karate. So Nicholas, thank you for tuning in. And in honor of your instructor, I just wanted to mention your name live on the program this evening and tell you I'm sorry. I send my condolences. I know what it's like to lose someone that's really close and was very important to your life. So thank you for tuning in, though, and hopefully we'll have a joyous evening. But we're going to learn a lot about what the founder of our system tonight, what his personality was like, what was some of his things that he done, what kind of person was he? What was he? So we're going to do some insight on Master Shimabuku right here on Isshinryu Today tonight. So next thing that I wanted to do was we must remember where we come from in order to know where we're going. Let me get back on track there. That serves so true in today's society, because you have to think back how you was raised, the mistakes that you made, the things you went through. And you know what? You go through things in this life and I'm just going to be inspirational here a little bit. We go through things in our life, maybe for a reason. And maybe the reason you went through these things was you were strong enough to make it through. And what you do in those situations really says who you are and how you handle those situations. So, what I mean by that is you probably went through what you're going through to help someone that was a little bit weaker so that you can coach them through it. It's all about others. And that's what the Isshinryu system, as you find out, that's what the Isshinryu system is about. It's about the other person. And we want to keep that standard and that tradition alive as we continue with our training. All right, next part of the show is going to be the announcements. We have a lot of announcements that I want to go over real quick. Miss Rebecca isn't with us this evening. She usually does the announcements, so bear with me as I do my best on these announcements and these shout outs. And Hoppy will be back. Oh, he's supposed to be back on here with me tonight, but he will be back next week. He'll be my uke as we go through some more self-defense training, going through some of the moves found in the Isshinryu Kata system. And the basics and the fundamentals of our Kempo Gokui, which is our chart 1 and 2. We'll be going through some more self-defense. I think we got a good response on that and we want to share for people that maybe don't have an instructor. This can help you still work out on your stuff and stay caught up. So on August 17th, coming up on us really quickly, Hanshi Larry Isaac of the Isaac Martial Arts Center is hosting a karate jutsu seminar featuring Professor Rick Moneymaker and Professor Michael Patrick of DSI. The time for this event is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's $50 cash at the door, or you can register at www.dragonsociety.com. And the address for the venue is going to be located at 1808 Anthony Road, Suite 109, and that's in Burlington, North Carolina. So it's $50 cash at the door. You can register through www.dragonsociety.com, and the event starts at 10 a.m. and runs through 3 p.m., and that's put on by Hanshi Larry Isaac and Rick Moneymaker, Professor Rick Moneymaker and Professor Patrick of the DSI Institute. Okay, so that is the August 17th. The one I want to draw your attention to is our association. Grandmaster Hanshi Phil Little will be putting on the Circle of Masters as he does every year. Guys, this event has got a lineup this year that's unbelievable, and you really do not want to miss this event. Right now, the cost of this event is $50. That's a steal for who we've got on the marquee that's going to be teaching. Okay, and I'm going to go over all of that with you, but I'm going to give you the date first. That's September the 14th, 2024, and that is the Circle of Masters, and that will be held in Anderson, South Carolina. Anderson, South Carolina, and Isshinryu Today podcast. We will be there live at this event. And that's hosted by Grandmaster Phil Little. The location or the venue for this event, the Circle of Masters, is 201 East Reed Road, and that's Anderson, South Carolina. And that's at the Anderson YMCA in Anderson, South Carolina. It's very easy to find. You can pre-register for this event, and I would suggest that you do so because spots are filling up quickly at this price. The prices will go up soon. And even if you're a grandmaster, if you're a Hanshi 9th and 10th degree, and you go to this link I'm getting ready to give you, if you go to this link, and I put it in the comment section as well, you can go to usikaevents.com. If you're a 9th or 10th Dan, the cost to you is nothing for this event, but we'd like for you to still register. That way Hanshi knows that you're coming. He does special things for the 9th and 10th Dans that attend his event, and definitely make sure that you're recognized. So if you don't mind going on there, it's very simple. I just registered tonight myself before I got on the show, and it took me like 5 minutes. It's very simple. You just click the link, you type in your information, and you hit submit, and you're there. So it's very, very simple, and it's not complicated to do at all. But that is USIKA United States Isshinryu Karate Association events.com. USIKA events.com. And it will be $50 up until August 20th. After that, the price is going to go up. So make sure that you reserve your spot on the floor now. And then it's going to send you your tickets through your email and through a text message and a personal message from Grandmaster Phil Little himself. I got mine done today. I'm registered. I'm good to go. I'm excited. So I wanted to let you know. But if you can't go to that one and you'd like to, if you're local here in Lexington and would like to go to a tournament, there is one available. It's the War Eagle Invitational Karate Tournament hosted by Mr. Travis Henson. And that location is in Davie County Community Park, 151 Southwood Drive, Mocksville, North Carolina. It's $60 to pre-register. It's $70 at the door. There's 15, and there is additional divisions, $15 for one, $20 at the door. September 1st is the deadline to pre-register, and I don't have a link. I don't have a link for that event. He just asked me to shout it out on here. But that is the War Eagle. If you want to look it up, it's the War Eagle Invitational Karate Tournament hosted by Master Travis Henson out of Davidson County. He's a good friend of mine, and it'd be a good tournament to go to too. So if you're interested in competing that day. But let me talk about the Circle of Masters, what's going on that day and who we've got. Okay. On the lineups, we have Darren Whitehead. And he is a student. Some of you may not know who Darren is, but Master Darren Whitehead is a student of Grandmaster Kurt Klein. And he is a great performer. He was there last year. He was the Uki for Master Kurt Klein because he was doing his demonstration and doing his seminar teaching. But Darren's an awesome. If you want a real good street fighting techniques, this is the guy. He's going to be there. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be really good. He's really talented, and he's a great presenter. The next guy is a real close friend of mine and a brother of mine, and it's a true honor to have him here this year. And he's coming from a long way, Pennsylvania, Delaware. He's coming up around that area. Hanshi, Elton, Maryland. That's where he's coming from. Elton, Maryland. It's Elton Dojo. And that's Hanshi Ron Cimarosi. And Ron, man, I'm telling you, he just presented at Ovicon this past weekend, and I missed it because I thought they changed the date on that. So, Hanshi Cimarosi, if you're watching, I apologize. I didn't get to make that event because the day that I was getting ready to leave, an announcement came up and said Ovicon was this coming up weekend. But then I got to look, and that was my fault, and I apologize. That's next year's advertisement. So I do apologize for that. But I didn't want to go wrong there and drive that far. 6-hour drive for me. So I didn't want to drive that far. And it not happen. But Hanshi Ron Cimarosi, I will get to see him at Circle Masters. He will be presenting. And folks, if you're listening and you are going to Circle Masters, he's got a request that maybe you bring some hand shields. Because he's going to get some close-in fighting going on and some knees and elbows, and don't want you to hit that with your hands. It could do damage. So get you some hand shields. If you have target shields or hand pads, make sure you have something to protect yourself in this seminar, okay? And then next up is Superstar in Isshinryu. I like to call him a superstar in Isshinryu, and this is Hanshi Scott Shamblin. Will be presenting at our seminar this year. And folks, I cannot wait to see him operate. He is one heck of an instructor, and I don't know what he's teaching, and you don't either. So we just have to show up and watch and learn. Bring a notepad, learn. It's going to be a great day of learning. So if someone could hit me in the comments and make sure that you can hear me, because I can't tell if my mic is working or not. For some reason, it's not giving me my bars. So if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up in the comments or something to that effect, because I don't want to sit here and just be talking and you see my lips move. So, because I really got some good information I want to put out there. So, but Hanshi Scott Shamblin will be presenting at the Circle of Masters this year. And guys, I'm telling you, go to usikaevents.com, hit that link, and get subscribed today because it's $50 right now. Go ahead and get pre-registered, get your name on the list, and let us know that you're coming. We might have some goodies in store for you. I know Isshinryu Today is going to be there. But anyway, that's all the announcements I have. I don't do a good a job at those as Miss Rebecca does. But we miss her being on the show. And she will be back next week, too. At the same time, we're planning on doing a Wednesday. So let's dive into our subject matter this evening. And this is the book that I'm using, and it's called Isshinryu Karate, The Ultimate Fighting Art, and it's by Master Harold Long and Tim McGee. And this is what Harold Long gave some insight on his teacher, Tatsuo Shimabuku. Now, this is real important, especially for the new students and the old students like me that just want to learn something. This picture right here is the central dojo that I showed you of Tatsuo Shimabuku. And if you want one of these books right here, you can get one of these books. All you got to do is reach out into a message to me. And if you'd like to purchase one of these, Hanshi Phil Little has these for sale in his dojo. And I can get those for you, or you can contact him yourself. And we can get you a book ordered. And if you buy it through him, he will personally autograph it for you and make sure that you get that book. It's going to be probably cheaper than what you would do if you went to Amazon or something, because you're getting this directly from him. But I'm not sure what his prices are now. They used to be $100, but this book is full of information, full of history. So I will read the first thing, and this was written by Gichin Funakoshi. The ultimate aim of the art of karate lies not in victory or defeat, but in the perfection of the characters of its participants. Remember, I was talking about the character of things you go through and how you go through them. Well, that defines your character. That defines the things that you go through and how you handle it. And that comes from Gichin Funakoshi, and I didn't read that before we get started. Throughout the years, one of the most frequent asked questions has been, what kind of person was Master Shimabuku? This chapter is devoted to giving the reader a better understanding of his character and personality and the impact he had upon people throughout the world. Signed, Harold Long. Insight of Master Shimabuku. One of the most memorable days of his life was the day that Master Shimabuku accepted him as a student. And I'll read it in his person. I can't tell you how delighted I was, even though I was kind of awed by his physical stature. If you know anything about Tatsuo Shimabuku, he was a real small man. He wasn't very big at all, so he was at all by his physical stature. The tremendous ability that he possessed was unreal. For how long to say that? Talking about the ability of Tatsuo Shimabuku, the ability that he possessed was unreal. He felt as if I had been more or less blessed when he could get off his seat to work with me. And he said, I felt as if I had been more or less blessed when he would get off his seat to work with me. So he was truly blessed that his teacher would get up to work out with him. And I am too. I am too. Hanshi Phil Little works out with me, and that's my teacher. And I'm proud to say that. When he gets out and works out with me, man, I'm blessed. There's nothing in this world like that. Nothing like this. Because he sees something in me that he's sharing, and that's a blessing in itself. Harold Long said, I had often wondered what my life would have been like had I had not had the opportunity to have studied under Master Shimabuku. He had more influence on my life than any one person. Remember, I told you, he looked after these guys. He took care of these gentlemen. They were off in another country, serving our country, sacrificing their lives for our country. And here's a guy of the Orient that is looking after them. And he will always be grateful to him for the opportunity he gave me to study karate and the lifetime of support and friendship. not a part-time thing, guys, a lifetime of support and friendship. Innovative. Was he innovative? Let's read a little bit and see what he says. Now, before we get done tonight, I am going to read the Harlem Globetrotter story because it is funny, okay? And I promised you guys that I'm going to do it. Innovative. Master Shimabuku was a very innovative and intelligent man. He shortened the stances in order to be more mobile. A person's body must be able to change direction at any time. It's interesting. All the techniques have multiple purpose. He developed the vertical punch with the thumb on top of the fist, Isshinryu's trademark technique. So if you're a new student and your instructor asks you what Isshinryu's trademark technique is, you tell him the vertical punch, the vertical fist, okay? He introduced snap blocks that get out, make contact, and get back. The retraction, that was real crucial, real important that we keep that fundamental and that standard in our training today. That retraction, that retraction, that retraction. It's very important. Make contact and get back. He instituted a quicker withdrawal from your techniques so you to be ready to use that weapon again, which is that's the retraction. If I hit something, I want to get it back so I'm able to use it again. It's not grabbed, it's not bent, it's not torn, it's not taken away from you. You're able to use it again in that retraction. Plus, it generates multiple things of force whenever it hits an object. Most of our kicks are of the snap kick variety. We do a couple of thrust kicks, but most of the time it's quick snapping kick so that the limb is ready for the next opponent or to use again on the same opponent. If there is another opponent. He eliminated the Pinon katas and replaced them with charts 1 and charts 2, or movements 1 or movements 2, or Kempo Gokui. That's our basic fundamentals of our Isshinryu system. And if you look back at the previous shows, we did an exclusive on charts 1 and 2, move by move. So if you're trying to figure out what chart 1 and 2 is, or movements 1 or 2 is, go back in our previous channels, pull it up and watch it, and maybe it'll help you understand. They contain the basic kicks, punches, and exercises that are the foundation of the Isshinryu system. So if you're training Isshinryu, that is your foundation. If you're a new beginner, that is your foundation. Those are the things you need to be working on. But you need to be working on them with that retraction that we talked about previously. The katas are a series of movements of punches, blocks, and kicks that change directions. They have a different weight distribution. So it teaches you person's balance is almost the same as weight. So we're getting into our Isshinryu codes, and all of these are kind of following suit with that. So weight distribution, how do I move from one to the other and still keep my balance? But at no time in these katas are you in a position where you cannot defend yourself. You should be able to change directions at any time to prepare yourself for danger or protect yourself from danger. That's exactly what it's saying. Master Shimabuku modified each kata to fit the purpose of Isshinryu karate. So he did it for his own style of karate that he designed. Kumite, as we know it today, back in Master Long's day, it was matching. He would call it matching. Kumite, as we know it today, started with Master Shimabuku on Okinawa. He modified the kendo equipment to allow full contact matches, using any technique we desired as long as it was delivered on a protective surface. So this is kind of where it came into play. You could only hit certain target areas because those were the protected areas, but you could use any technique that you liked. And I like that. And I like keeping that alive in our tournaments today, that we can use these techniques as long as it's to the correct target areas. And I like that. And I like that we've kept that throughout all these years. You know, like I said, I'm going on my 32 years. I think that's what it is. I have to date it back, but 32 years. And we've kept that alive for 32 years. And I think that standard is what we need to continue. We must remember that in order to keep it going and in order to make it grow. Now we've added a few things, but we kept our standards to that addition. And that's the important part. Tatsu is all about growing, okay? Meticulous. Was he meticulous? Let's see. Let's take a dive into what Harold Long says about our founder. Master Shimabuku was a meticulous instructor. He never let you move ahead until he felt you were capable of doing what you were trained on today. So that's critical that we keep that alive too. You don't want to get too far ahead. You want to get down what you got, use what you got, and use it in many different ways until you fully understand how to use that move before you move on to a next one. Everybody wants to get to the end, but if you don't start in the beginning, your beginning may be your end in a real life situation. So keep that in mind. Um, you had to physically demonstrate it to him. He had no ego. He never tried to put on a show for anyone. The only thing that he wanted to do was teach good karate. He wanted you to practice good karate. He wanted to teach good karate, but the important thing was someone else. Like I said, he wanted you to practice good karate. All right. A family man. Was Tatsuo a family man? I can go ahead and tell you he was. He was a family man. Master Shimabuku had several children. I knew, now this is Harold Long, not me. I'm reading Harold Long. I knew his two sons, Kishiro and Shinso, and one of his daughters, Yuklo. And I'm probably mispronouncing the names, and I apologize, but it's Yuklo. Kishiro now heads one group of the Isshinryu practitioners on Okinawa with a small following in the United States. And they had a great showing this, I think it was this past weekend. They had the IWKA World Tournament, Isshinryu World Tournament. And that is hosted by Kishiro. And that was a great event. And there was a lot of people there, and they had a good turnout. And following that week, the weekend before that, we had the Isshinryu Hall of Fame. Another great turnout, another great showing. And I'm telling you, Isshinryu is just popping. It's just popping. And I'm proud to be a part of it. And I'm glad to see everybody still doing those things, keeping the Founders Dream alive. That's true honor. That's true honor. I think Michael Calandra may have headed that up. I'm not sure, but don't quote me on that. Shinso, who is called Shiso, began training with his father around 1948. He spoke English very well, and even though he was just a child at the time, he was a tremendous asset to the dojo, which I can imagine he was, being he spoke English and Tatsuo did not. And he learned a little bit as from the Marines and stuff as he went on, but it's good to have that connection and that communication. So he was an extremely intelligent young man with a very pleasing, down-to-earth personality, just like his father. So Tatsu, if you want to know what Tatsu's personality was, he was just a down-to-earth person. Just down-to-earth person. Harold Long said he worked out with Shinso practically every day while he was in Okinawa. After his father would show me what he wanted me to work on, Shinso would work with me and describe the techniques in English. Like I said, that's important. This was a tremendous aid in helping me better understand the techniques. Yuko was also very friendly and personable. She is married to Angiezu, which is another outstanding, phenomenal Isshinryu practitioner. So Angiezu would be Tatsuo Shimabuku's son-in-law. He married Tatsuo's daughter, and that is run by Chris Chase, I think, in the OIKA, something like that. But anyway, yeah, that group is awesome. All these guys are just awesome. So you can see how it branched out. Remember, I gave my shout outs to the first generation and the second generation. And now you come down to the third generation, like me, and fourth, and so on. Personal trait. Master Shimabuku had a very amusing trait. Amusing trait. Let's see what he had as an amusing trait. I'm interested to see now. Whenever he had something really important to say, he would wipe his nose with the back of his right hand and scratch his rear end with his left hand. So when he had something very important to say, you knew it was coming. When you saw him do those two things, you knew he had something important to say and it's getting ready to happen. Okay. Whenever you saw him perform this little ritual, you had better pay attention because he was going to tell you something very important. So that was your key sign. He gave you a sign to pay attention. Um, and it would wipe his nose with one hand and scratch his rear with the other. So that's kind of a funny thing. A storyteller. Yes, he was a storyteller, and we're going to learn how he became one. Master Shimabuku was also a great storyteller. He would often have what we call sake, okay? Sake parties. First, we would put on a demonstration for the general public on Okinawa. Afterwards, we'd go back to the dojo and have a sake party. Sake is a rice wine. Master Shimabuku would tell his best stories during these parties. Most of the people then and to this day did not realize that Master Shimabuku was a fortune teller as they were known in those days. Today, we would call them psychics. He had a very large clientele of mostly females in Okinawa. That's an interesting fact that I did not know. I knew he was a fortune teller, but I did not know his clientele. So that is a very interesting fact, and I'm glad we covered that. The gangster. Let's see what he's got going on gangster style, okay? Master Shimabuku was a very amusing person. He told Harold Long one time about a gangster who came to the dojo, and I've read this before. This is a good story, too. About a gangster that come to the dojo in a Jiden wanting to learn Isshinryu karate. Master Shimabuku explained to him in training that the training was rigorous and strenuous and took years to become proficient. What he was really trying to do was discourage the man from wanting to learn, short of telling the man that he didn't want him as a student. So he's being nice and saying it's really hard. You may not want to do this, and you'll find out later that he was kind of intimidated by the guy. But it's funny. It's funny. I'm gonna read the story. I'll be quiet and read the story. Short of telling the man that he didn't want him as a student, he tried every way in the world to persuade the man not to start training. Because of the gangster's notorious reputation, Master Shimabuku didn't want to do anything that would cause this man dishonor because he feared for the safety of his family. So this guy was a pretty known guy to cause problems if he didn't get his way. So Tatsuo was trying to go about it the right, a good way. To dishonor because he feared for the safety of his family. After several days, he allowed the man to begin training. The guy was real persistent. So Tatsuo said, well, maybe this is what he needs to change his life. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance. He's got a bad reputation. And, a lot of people who come to our dojos now that may not have a good reputation. And maybe this is what they're looking for to change their lives. You could be that difference to change their lives. So you got to respect that. Even though he was scared for his family's safety, he took a chance. He gave the guy a chance. When the man arrived at the dojo for his first day of training, Master Shimabuku explained to him that the Makiwara board was the first part of each day's workout. Okay. How many of us do that? Okay. Now the Makiwara board at the dojo was a 4x4 set in concrete. It was a 4x4 piece of wood set in concrete. The 4x4 was an extremely hard wood the Okinawan called monkey pod. Ordinarily, there was a rice mat wrapped around the 4x4 to strike. Well, that'd feel good on your hands, okay? However, Master Shimabuku removed the rice mat. Master Shimabuku removed the rice mat before the man arrived for his first lesson. Okay. All right, so he took the rice mat off. He began by getting the gangster into a proper stance and showing him how to make a proper fist. He showed him how to strike with the first two knuckles of each hand and demonstrated the proper way to punch the Makiwara board. After this instruction, he told the man that he needed to stand there and strike the Makiwara board a minimum of 500 times with each fist. He explained to him the importance of toughening the knuckles and hands. So this was a lesson already, right here. Master Shimabuku stood and watched and encouraged the man to strike harder and harder. By the time he had finished punching the mechawar board, his hands were bleeding and swollen so badly that he couldn't even close his hands. Master Shimabuku praised him for doing an outstanding job and told him that he would see him tomorrow. Several days passed, but the man did not return to the dojo. One day, Master Shimabuku saw the man on the street. He said that the man bowed very respectfully to him and was very courteous, but he never returned to the dojo. Master Shimabuku's quick thinking and his way of doing things avoided what could have been a very dangerous situation for him and his family. Good lesson learned here. I know it's funny and I know how this went down and all, but mental self-defense, mental and verbal self-defense protected his family. And that's what he was worried about. So he gave the guy what he wanted. The guy didn't want no more of it. And he bowed to him in a respectful fashion. That's letting him know that, hey, everything's good with us. You know, sometimes you got to handle things mentally. And sometimes it's not easy. And life's not easy. It's hard. Life don't want you to make it. But I respect the guy because he didn't quit. He just didn't come back, but he didn't quit that day. And that's what happens in life. A lot of us quit too easy. One more punch. Let's see what happens. One more punch. Let's see what happens. One more step. Let's see where we go. Okay. A field day. Harold Long was also fortunate enough to go to a field day with Master Shimabuku while he was in Okinawa. This is a very similar to a track meet in the United States. So like a track meet or a field day, it's a day where they meet in the field and do stuff. Of course, we didn't even leave his house until it was time for the event to start because he knew it wasn't going to start on time anyway. Down there's guy. Once we got there, I kept worrying about getting a seat, but it wasn't any problem at all. When we arrived, Master Shimabuku went up to a bunch of young people sitting on a front row bench and shooed them away. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "That was real good." Every little village and community had their own athletes to represent their area. So it was like a community thing to where they just competed in different events with each other, and it was called Field Day. They had their own athletes to represent their area. I had never seen enthusiasm like that before. If you represented a village, it didn't make any difference where you finished in your event, even if you finished last. When you got back to the village you were representing, they congratulated you as if you had just set a new world record. Sometimes when you go to competitions, and this just popped in my mind by reading it, sometimes when you go to competitions and you finish last, I've done it. I mean, you know, it happens. But they got treated as if they finished first, as long as they finished. That's an important lesson. We get caught up sometimes in, I got to win, 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 win. But the real lesson is when you lose. Why did you lose? What could you have done better? Those are the lessons that you remember. Those are the ones you go back and work on. If you win, you must have done everything right. You don't try as hard. So I like this lesson right here. So if you represented a village, it didn't make any difference where you finished in your event, even if you finished last. When you got back to the village, you were representing. They congratulated you as if you had just won a new world record. In the United States, if you don't finish first, you're not much of anything. That's the difference between the two countries and their cultures. That's what Harold Long said. That's the difference. That's the difference. Then we got the first visit to the United States, the second visit to the United States. That's been covered pretty much. Let's go over to some other attributes that he had. Honesty. No one can be more honest than Master Shimabuku. While visiting in Cleveland, Ohio, he taught some students either Bobo Kumite or Bosai Kumite. Whichever it was, they were going to give a demonstration on television. They made a mistake, so Master Shimabuku stepped out and halted the demonstration. He looked right into the camera, wiped his nose with the back of his right hand. Uh-oh, got some important information coming up. And scratched his rear end with his left hand and said, 2 days me teachy, now no can do. He bowed, turned, and walked off. That's as honest as you can get. I mean, yeah, hold no punches. I mean, that's what it was. He said, 2 days I teach you, and now you can't do. Demonstration's over. I understand that. I get it. I get it. A showboat. There was another well-known instructor on the West Coast that came to see Steve Armstrong's tournament in 1966. I don't know where this is going, but I'm going to read it. This gentleman gave what he thought and what the audience thought was a good crowd-pleasing demonstration showing off the differences between karate and some of the other arts of self-defense. He made some jokes about it, and then he thought he really had the audience in the palm of his hand, and he did. The audience really loved it. When he got through with his demonstration, he came over and tried to sit down next to Master Shimabuku, but Master Shimabuku wouldn't let him. He kept pushing him away, saying, Nason, Nason. Nason in the Okinawan language means girl. So what he was telling his showboat was that he performed like a girl, and he certainly did not want him sitting next to him. Back in that time, there's a difference between the ladies now. The ladies now can perform pretty darn good. Thoughtfulness. Master Shimabuku was really a very thoughtful person. Something I learned during this visit to Knoxville. He stayed at Harold Long's home, and this was a great thrill for his children. They thought having a karate master from Okinawa staying in their home was just the greatest thing in the world, and I would have thought that too. Every evening before he went to bed, he would tell them stories. The thing that touched him the most was that he would never go to bed without going to each one of his children and telling them good night. Love and compassion. That's the key to it all, is love and compassion. He would go to each one of them and tell them good night. This was the most thoughtful act that Harold Long ever witnessed. Again, that was Master Shimabuku. He was a very intelligent and demanding karate instructor, yet a very down-to-earth individual. He was just the ideal karate instructor. So when you think about a karate instructor, firm, hard, expect you to train hard, but compassionate as well, funny. This next story is going to make you laugh, because this is, you got to think about the cultural difference. He cared enough about the children that he would go around and tell each one of them every night. And that speaks volume. That really does. So before you leave your children and dismiss them, make sure you tell each child, good night, good work, you trained hard, I expected a lot out of you, you gave me a lot, there's more to give, I love you, good night. You never know when you're going to see them again, if you see them again. So make sure that you love your children, okay? This is the one that y'all all been waiting for, the Harlem Globetrotters. It's a pretty lengthy story, but I'm going to read it in Harold Long's words, okay? Excuse me. Get a swallow of drink here. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Ready, set, and go. Other than his brilliance, one of the traits that all of us need to remember about Master Shimabuku, he was a very humble person. He wasn't very full of ego or very boisterous or very proud. He was a humble person. That's something that a lot of us could use. During his visit with me, this is Harold Long, not me, I heard that the Harlem Globetrotters were going to be in town. I wanted Master Shimabuku to get away from the dojo a little bit, so I arranged for tickets and took him to see the Harlem Globetrotters. This is where it begins. When the promoters discovered who was accompanying me and what his status was in karate, they wanted Master Shimabuku to toss up the first ball, throw up the basketball, get the game started. They wanted him to throw it up. And that's an honor. Now, Master Shimabuku didn't care all that much for basketball. This was mainly due to his karate class at Camp Hansen on Okinawa. He had to share a gym with basketball practice while trying to teach a karate class. So, yeah, he had a bad taste in his mouth. After some discussion and explaining what a big honor this was, he agreed to start the game as requested. So it was a true honor for him to do it. So he going to toss the ball up. All right. When he stepped out onto the floor and saw all these big, tall men standing there, now take in mind he's a little guy, standing there, he was sort of awed by it. When it was time to start the game, he let out a loud kia and threw the ball up almost to the rafters at the Civic Coliseum in Knoxville, Tennessee. He threw it almost all the way to the rafters, the jump ball, okay? Immediately, all the players began chopping, kicking, and kiaing. It's the Harlem Globetrotters, okay? So you got to think about the setting. This is the funny part. As most of you know, the Globetrotters are not only showmen and athletes, but very good actors as well. Master Shimabuku thought Curly, listen to this, guys, this is where it gets fun. Master Shimabuku thought Curly was a convict because he didn't have any hair on his head. On Okinawa, they shaved the head of convicts. After a while Harold Long trying to explain to him that this was a show and not a real basketball game, he really became engrossed in it and thought it was just great. So he thought Curly was a convict because he had no hair on his head. Okay. After the game, over 100 people came by and wanted his autograph. He couldn't comprehend what he had ever done to deserve that kind of attention. I don't think he ever really understood the high esteem that all of us held him in and still do, or what an impact he had in his chosen profession of karate. That statement there that Harold Long made about his teacher says a lot about what did people say about us. Tatsuo was just blown away that people would want his name signed on a piece of paper or whatever he signed it on. And, you know, that's humbling. That's humbling. And I'm so glad that he had that demeanor and attitude. I've been to places myself and kids want me to sign things. And I'm like, I'm nobody, man. I'm an 8th degree black belt in Isshinryu karate. I'm nobody in Isshinryu karate. But I had an impact, I guess, in their lives. And it's crucial that you pay attention to that. No matter where you go, what you say, what you do, somebody's watching you. You can be that difference that somebody needs in their life. I know this is a funny story, and this is a great conversation tonight about understanding some insight of our founder, Grandmaster Tatsuo Shimabuku. And I'll read more later. But for tonight's program, I wanted to bring that Harlem Globetrotter story because not only was it a great story, but it's a great attribute in understanding the standard in which we must uphold as Isshinryu practitioners. Guilty, failed. Do I continue to try? Yeah. So I just want to take a minute and thank each and every one of you guys. And Nicholas Woodall, I'll be having you in my prayers, my friend. I know that that's hard, and I know 2004 is kind of a long time ago, but still, yet it's there, brother. It's there. I lost my father in 2012, so I kind of understand your pain. But I thank you for coming and visiting the show this evening. And folks, let me tell you, if you want genuine, humble, good, hard karate, come to Circle Masters. USIKAevents.com. Click on that register now while it's $50, save you some money. I'll be there. I look forward to seeing you there. And I'll go live. I'll even have you on the show. And if you're interested in being on the show, hit me up in my inbox. You can send it here. You can send it to my wife. You can send it. There's many ways to get in touch with me. Get in touch with me. Um, and I'd love to have you on the show. You can talk about your story, talk about your journey. Maybe you got some experiences with Tatsuo Shimabuku you'd like to share with everybody in Isshinryu. We are under the umbrella of Isshinryu Karate. The- Apart from where you come from, remember where you come from in order to know where you're going, but include everyone. And that's our mission here on Isshinryu today. We wanted to create Isshinryu in today's present tense to where we're going in the future, but we got to get there together. Let's get in the car. Let's drive together. If you don't want to drive, I'll drive. But let's ride together. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's get to know each other. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back here next week, and next week we'll be doing some hands-on training for everyone. And I'll have Hoppy back on here. I have my wife back on here. I know some of you guys are asking about Hoppy. He's doing fine. He's been at the dojo every day this week, and he calls me every day. I can't. So he's doing great. He'll be at Circle of Masters too. We're gonna have a great time. Go bounce each other off the wall a little bit, and then we're not gonna go have a sake party because I don't drink, but we'll go have a Dr. Pepper party. So anyway, guys, I love you. Thank you for tuning in to Isshinryu today. God bless you. Good night. We're out of here.